In today's episode of Today in World War II, April 24th, biplanes make it to Norway. Nimitz finally pulls his head out of his butt about torpedoes. MacArthur cuts off 50,000 Japanese troops in New Guinea. The U.S. 7th Army makes some major gains and captures some very strategic rivers. Let's get started. All right, so on April 24th, 1940, I've been alluding to this, talking about this for the last 3 or 4 days, but the much anticipated arrival of the 18 Gladiator biplanes that were supposed to make a major difference in the air war in Norway, they arrived today. Yay. That's the good news. The bad news is that 18 Gladiator biplanes arrived in the Norwegian front. They arrived on a frozen lake. Yes, their airfield was a frozen lake in Norway. That was their base of operations. Now, there's going to be a few difficulties with this deployment. Number one, they had zero anti-aircraft defense. As a result, and as a result of the fact that they were biplanes against modern, fast monoplane airplanes with the Luftwaffe, by the next day, only 5 would be left. And their days were numbered. Okay. This considering that they were operating off a frozen lake, which means it's still cold up there, I think the appropriate comparison would be clubbing baby seals on the Arctic ice. In fact, I think the baby seals had a better chance of survival than biplanes going up against the Luftwaffe. But what do I know, right? On April 24th, 1943, Admiral Nimitz finally bows to reality that had been staring at him in the face for 2 years, that the American torpedoes were terrible. They had this newfangled top secret torpedo with a magnetic exploder. And the whole idea was that the torpedo would be fired at a German. Why do I keep saying Germany in the Pacific? A Japanese ship, merchant vessel, military, doesn't matter. That it would be set at a depth below the water line of the ship, or below the hull, right? It would go underneath it, and because this magnetic exploder would sense that it was below, on the very bottom of the warship or the merchant ship, where there was, I'm sure that the armor wasn't very thick there, and it would explode. That would break the back of the ship, so you do more damage with one torpedo. And that was the idea. It was a very, very good idea. Listen. I thought it was a very good idea when I was 23 years old and married this Russian girl who obviously wanted to go to America. I thought it was true love. Okay. I'm not sure which idea was worse. Probably mine because it affected my life, you know. But and the thing is that the American submarine captains who were telling multiple reports, look, our torpedoes are not exploding. There's something wrong with our torpedoes. They were demoted for cowardice or not having been aggressive enough or whatever. Well, finally, Nimitz agreed, you know what, we're going to have to do something about these torpedoes. And from then on, the success rate in the Pacific against the Japanese merchant ships went up exponentially, right? Too bad it took almost 2 years. On April 24th, 1944, I mentioned this a couple of videos ago that the MacArthur Sixth Army had landed in New Guinea, in Hollandia and Itape, and by doing so, by bypassing the Japanese stronghold, where the Japanese expected the attack and where they were going to make it as difficult as possible to inflict as many casualties as possible on the Allied armies, they were bypassed, and so MacArthur cut off 50,000 Japanese troops. They would just sit there for the rest of the war. The Japanese would have to supply them by submarine, because there was just no way they were contained, cut off, and they were no longer. They might as well have been taken prisoner. Okay, MacArthur was a brilliant general in the Southwest Pacific. Finally, on April 24th, 1945, the U.S. Seventh Army crossed the Danube River to capture Ulm, Germany, and in southern Germany, Patton's Third Army also reached the Danube River. There is no historical record whether Patton urinated over the Danube like he did on the Rhine River. Don't know if he did worse than that. I don't. Hopefully, he would never do anything worse than just peeing on it. But this Patton, he was kind of weird. Anyway, that's it for today. I appreciate it. Go out and celebrate this, watching this video by peeing in a river somewhere, and I'll see you tomorrow.